Hi there, it's Denise Eckert from Balance Me Coaching, and I'm here to talk about overwhelm and what is living in overwhelm really costing you. You know that feeling where you've got so much to do, you don't even know where to begin, and you start to panic, but you keep adding more and more to your full plate, but you're not getting anything accomplished. And then you get this feeling that the world is closing in on you. A lot of times when I feel I'm in an overwhelm, it's like the world is spinning too fast and I just want the world to stop so I can get off and take a break. I think we've all felt that at some point in our lives. And the definition of overwhelm is to bury or drown beneath a huge mass. And that's what it feels like. You just feel like you're being closed in and there's no way out. Now, even though we're experiencing overwhelm and sometimes we don't feel like there's an end in sight, but there are strategies that can help you cope, deal with overwhelm, and I'm here to share them with you. Now, first, I'm going to go into the symptoms of overwhelm. Now, as an entrepreneur or business owners, a lot of times we do adapt to living in high anxiety or high stress levels when we do have things to do. Like if you've got a big project to do, a lot of times when I do have a big project, I'll work until it's done. But I do see the light at the end of the tunnel. And then I do take that break. And sometimes we get into that hamster wheel where we just keep going and going and going. And that's where we end up in the overwhelm dilemma. Now, living in stress can be exciting, but putting yourself in constant overwhelm is where it becomes debilitating and it can even become dangerous. What are the symptoms of overwhelm? Well, overwhelm can affect us emotionally, physically, and behaviorally. So, emotionally, you may feel irritable, confused, unfocused, anxious, dull. You could be zombie state or panic state. You can be laughing and crying uncontrollably. And a lot of times you just feel like you're spinning out of control. Now, physically, you may feel exhausted, fatigued, no energy. You may develop some physical health symptoms such as bloating, colds because your immune system is down. I know for myself when I'm in overwhelm, it's always my stomach and my gut that is bothering me. A lot of times it's my shoulders or my neck is stressed. So it can affect your body in many different ways. Now, behaviorally, a lot of times we act irrationally, whether we're snapping at people or we're biting people's heads off. It's things that we don't normally do. Now, what does living in overwhelm really cost us? Well, as humans, we have many different aspects of our lives that create happiness. And creating a balance between our work, our family, our joy, our happiness is our goal. But when we live in overwhelm, we tend to live in this despair tunnel. It's not good. Now, as an entrepreneur or business owner living in overwhelm for lengthy periods of time, it can become disastrous to our business, to our home lives, to our health, to our relationships. Because a lot of times when we're living in overwhelm, we don't have the energy or the mind to get things accomplished. Things just don't get done. And we're not moving that needle forward. And we always feel that behind. We can feel inefficient. We can feel incompetent. And a lot of times when we're living in overwhelm, we become forgetful. That feeling when you go to one room to another and you can't remember why you were there. Distraction. Every time we turn around, we're distracted. So when we do go into that room, we end up working on something else. And a lot of times when we're overwhelmed as well, we can create anxiety over what needs to be done. And anxiety is one of the worst feelings I've ever experienced. When we are living in overwhelm, we can become short fused, irritable. I'll give you an example. This is a story that I went through. So I was working on too many things at once and I was getting absolutely nothing done. And someone came up to me nicely and asked me what I wanted for dinner. And I just bit that person's head off. And it wasn't because I was angry at that person. No, it was misdirected anger, number one. And it was one more decision I could not make. And it was one more thing on my plate that I could not deal with. And it's not a nice feeling because then in the end I had to apologize and felt a little embarrassed and I hurt that person because they are trying to be nice to me and I'm ripping their heads off. Now, as a business owner, a lot of times if we're unfocused, our decisions in overwhelm tend to be rushed. They're made in fear or in anxiety. And a lot of times we don't make the right decisions because we just want that decision done and we don't take the time to step back and make that decision properly. The biggest thing I found when I was in overwhelm is that I had this really strange belief that working longer and working harder was going to get me further ahead. So if my business started suffering because my stress levels were too high, I would tend to work longer. Next thing you know, I was pretty much working 24/7. And that's not the answer because you do that and you push yourself like that, you tend to make more mistakes, you're unfocused, and you're not doing your business as the real you. So, what is overwhelm really costing you? Well, it can cost you your relationships, it can cost you your business, your mental and your physical health, and it overall can create a horrible unhappiness in your life. We all experience overwhelm in a different way. Overwhelm can be centered on one thing that's overwhelming you, or it can be your overall view on life. But being aware that you're experiencing overwhelm is the first step in creating a happier lifestyle. Now, some of the tips to help you reduce the overwhelm. My first tip is just stop. Just stop. That's right. Just stop. Once we get caught up in that overwhelmed cycle, what we should be doing, what we must be doing next, what we forgot to do, what we need to do now, what we need to do next, if we let that pressure increase, the worse it will get. And now this is a decision you need to make for yourself. We all need those moments to regroup, gain clarity, prioritize, and breathe. Now, when you just stop, please get away from your notifications on your phone, your emails. Just remove yourself from what's overwhelming you. And take that time to sit in silence, whether you meditate, whether you journal. I love tapping. I'm a huge fan of tapping. And I do have a tapping link that I've done for overwhelm in the comments here. Take the dog for a walk, call a friend for a quick chat, do something easy, simple, but just stop. So after just stopping, what I do with my clients is help them create that clarity. Now that you've slowed your mind and your nervous system down, let's take that huge to-do list out of your head and dump it out on paper. And I call this a brain dump. Just write it down. Don't worry about spelling, punctuation, etc. Just get it out of your head. And once you get that giant to-do list down on paper, look at it from a different perspective. Think about it. Pretend it's a new you looking at the new information. And a lot of times when we do this, we'll go, oh my, I can't believe I had that much stuff on my to-do list. Because sometimes we just keep pounding, and we get like overwhelmed. And then when we actually take that step back, even if I clone myself 3-4 times, I could not get this to-do list done. Now, what this clarity does, it prioritizes yourself, your time, your energy, and that's an important step in reducing that overwhelm. Once this list is down, answer the following questions. What tasks and commitments are important to me? Which ones can I remove? Which ones can I delegate? A lot of times when we're spinning in overwhelm, delegation is not a thing because we feel like we need to do everything at once and all the time and do blah, blah, blah. No, once you have that down on paper, take a look at things that you can delegate to others, and how can you take those larger projects and break them down into bite-sized, obtainable tasks? Chunking things down and putting them into smaller tasks makes it doable. And what tasks and commitments do you have on that list that bring you joy or happiness? And if you don't, please add some of those tasks or those commitments that you can do that will bring you joy and happiness. And how can you add more of that to your list? A lot of times when we are in overwhelm, we keep just adding to this list. And we just don't have the energy to say no or to think clearly. I had a roommate once, and what she used to do, she had a very high profile job and she worked on a lot of different projects. So what would happen was that when she was offered another project, she'd come home and sit in the dark, sit in silence, and just meditate on that project, whether the project aligned with her or not. And she would also do visualization if she could see herself doing this project. And that was a wonderful practice that she shared with me because I've done this in the future now. And if I cannot see myself doing this project, or if this project is giving me red flags and I don't feel right about it, that's probably an opportunity to say no and to protect your time and your energy. A lot of us in business lead a blended life. Now, learning to integrate and prioritize non work related elements into our life, including things that give us joy and happiness, will lead us to a more balanced lifestyle. Now that you've got your clarity, the next step is saying no to things that don't align with you. Once you're clear, saying no to things that don't align with you will give you the time and energy to do the things that are important to you. A lot of the times we don't say no because we feel obligated, whether that person has done things for me in the past and now I feel obligated to reciprocate, or we feel fear, we feel guilty, we don't want to get that person upset or mad, or we believe that person depends on us, or we believe that I don't want to be a bad person, I don't want to be mean. But remember, you're protecting your own time and your own energy. A big tip, if you are being asked to do a task or commitment and you're not sure how it aligns with you, give yourself some time for the decision. Just say, let me think about it. Take that time to make that decision. Do that exercise where you're sitting in silence and seeing if that task aligns with you. Can you spare that time and energy? Would that task or commitment be important to what's important to you? Remember, when we live in overwhelm, we may not be in the best space to commit ourselves to more. Working with clients, the biggest thing I get from clients is I don't have the time. And I hear this all the time, and it drives me crazy. Because if we take care of ourselves first, we become happier, more balanced, and we become better moms, dads, partners, wives, husbands, business partners, neighbors. And if we don't take the time to create that clarity or to stop and give us a break from the overwhelm we've created, we may go into burnout. And burnout creates health issues. We might get sick, become emotionally unpredictable. We have physical symptoms. And sometimes we get really sick. And at that point, we're no good to anybody. And someone may have to take care of us. So my final note here is living in overwhelm can become overwhelming. But you know what? You don't have to do it alone. My name is Denise Eckert, and I help business owners or entrepreneurs living in overwhelm, stress, or burnout create a happier, more balanced lifestyle. So if you're looking for help and want to create a happier lifestyle, please book my free coaching call today. I can help you move your needle forward. So stay happy and stay balanced. Just a final note, if you're struggling with burnout or chronic stress, I have free resources such as a podcast, Facebook support group, my blog. To get these free resources, please visit my website at www.balance-me.ca. Now, this is Denise Eckert signing off, and contact me if you're looking to create a happier, more balanced lifestyle today.